Thank you, Dave. Thanks, everyone, for coming out this morning. Today I'll be talking about Blue Sky Uranium. We are, I guess, not a different type of uranium company in that we're focused in on Argentina, and we're focused not just on a single deposit, but on an entire district, a district that, of course, that has the potential to become amongst the largest uranium districts in the world with some of the lowest operating costs. So a very bold opening statement, and I do think that this presentation will prove me true. No. By the way, this presentation is available on our website, and I will be making some forward-looking statements, so this is the disclaimer for everybody to read very carefully. And in terms of the investment highlights here, I mean, Argentina, one doesn't hear too often about that, but I would argue that Argentina is one of the best places in the world to make uranium discovery. We'll see. I'll discuss that a little later in a later slide. But Argentina is a is a nuclear country with a very long history in uranium, and there is a definite in-country demand for uranium. And this, of course, sets up Blue Sky for a very unique business opportunity. Our deposit, we have already, within this district, we've discovered the Havana deposit. We just very recently published an updated PEA, which shows a very robust resource, just over 17 million pounds of uranium and over 8 million pounds of vanadium. And that's about the deposit now, about 80% of it sitting in the indicated category with fairly robust economics. And I guess the real upside here is the exploration upside. This district spans over 145 kilometers in length by 50 kilometers wide. It's really enormous. And with the deposit sitting within the first 25 meters from surface, it makes it for very, very unique, potentially very economic future discoveries here. Here's a map of Argentina. And here we're showing the location of the district, the Amaro Grande district, the big yellow. It's the big yellow blob that's in the province of Rio Negro in Patagonia. And it's comprised of over 300,000 hectares of property. It's a very, very large package, and Blue Sky controls 100% of that. We've staked all of that. The other projects that are shown in Chubut, we're not doing any activity there. We're 100% focused on our Amaro Grande district. And the company management, it's managed by Grosso Group. Grosso Group is a management team that's been active in Argentina for over 3 decades, since the country opened up its investment laws to permit foreign investors to participate in the mining industry. We've had, as a group, managing various other junior companies, had a lot of success over the last 30 years. I list 4 discoveries there that have gone on into production in the case of Guacamayo and Chinchillas, and the Amaro Grande, of course, is the deposit that we're talking about today. Just very briefly, some key people in our management team. Of course, Joe Grosso, who's not just the president and founder of Grosso Group, but he brings a wealth of contacts and into the company. He's been inducted into Argentina's Mining Hall of Fame, extremely well known there, and opens up a lot of doors for us. And myself, I've worked with Joe Grosso, I guess, since day one, so I've got over 30 years of experience as well in this field. And the only other person I really want to highlight here is Guillermo Pensado, our VP of Exploration. He's a uranium geologist with very extensive experience in uranium, based in Argentina. I won't go too much into uranium facts and figures, but just to note that uranium, half the world's uranium you can see there, it comes from Kazakhstan. And that has to do, and this is an important point, has to do with the ability of that country, those deposits there that can operate at a very, very low cost. So there's similarities with our project, I think that'll be very, very key. And the price of uranium hovering around $100 a pound spot price, and it's been continuously going up. There is definitely real demand out there. There's new nuclear reactors that are being built around the world, especially as we enter into a new electrification, low carbon production way of generating electricity. And as far as we can see, the demand is just continuing to grow, and with supply not being able to keep up, the price is just going to continue to go up. And how is uranium priced? I'm just going to very, very briefly. Most uranium isn't priced in the spot market. Most of it has to do with long-term contracts between a uranium mine and a nuclear reactor, and those are contracts that go up to 15 years and usually at a substantial premium to spot. An interesting point here to note that Argentina consumption is just under half a million pounds of uranium every year, and they import all the uranium that they currently use, and they pay spot price for it, so they pay close to about $100 a pound for that. And like I said at the opening, Argentina is a nuclear country. It's with a very, very long history in that field, almost as long as the United States, since the 1950s. They've got, not just nuclear power plants, they can enrich their own uranium in there. They've got research centers, particle accelerators. In fact, even the managing director for the International Atomic Energy is an Argentine. So there is a very high level of sophistication there. And this is important, especially as we move the project and we decide to progress to go to production. There's a subsecretary of nuclear affairs. So all the regime and the rules for putting a uranium mine into production are already in place. This shortens our ability to push the project forward dramatically. And with no domestic supply of uranium, of course, this sets up blue sky. Even at this relatively early stage, our project is the largest and most advanced in Argentina. It sets us up to become not just Argentina's first domestic supplier, but also at a position where we could be a net exporter as well. And now I'll just very briefly go over the Amaro Grande project. Here's a map, a picture of all the map claims. As you can see, it's a very, very long, large district, over 145 kilometers in length. The corridor is approximately, on average, about 50 kilometers wide. We've spent a considerable amount of time exploring this entire district. The Havana deposit that we discovered back in 2017 is in the southeastern part of the project. And then as soon as we made the discovery, within a year, we had our first resource estimate. Within a year afterwards, we published our initial PEA, and now we just updated that very quickly. The province itself, where our project is situated, the Rio Negro province, very mining friendly. It's there's an active resource sector there, but it's also a very strong nuclear jurisdiction as well. They have a research center there where they manufacture and do research on small modular reactors. They're quite well known around the world. And because of the bustling oil and gas industry there's excellent infrastructure there in terms of power, water, and rail. In fact, there's a pilot enrichment plant just a couple hundred kilometers to the west from our project, and where our project is situated. Despite the picture here showing, being pretty arid and barren, there is a town about 25 kilometers away where we can access, have a workforce. The geology, just very briefly, because I'm not a geologist, is a combination of a sandstone and superficial type uranium mineralization. You could see there in the top picture, the uranium, the carnotite, which is the mineral where the uranium and the vanadium are found in, it's that yellow powder that coats the pebble. The pebbles itself are not mineralized, so the goal here is to extract that yellow powder. And this type of mineralization is actually quite common around the world. But the neat thing is that all the mineralization here occurs within the first 25 meters from surface down to depth, so it's really, really cheap to explore. And then, you know, this lends itself, of course, the ground is just loosely consolidated or unconsolidated sediments, so you don't need any blasting or anything in terms, so it lends itself to be relatively cheap to extract, and I'll have more about that in the following slides here. Like I said, Kazakhstan was an important slide earlier, showing the low cost, and the deposits that we've got of mineralization very similar to the types of mineralization they have in Kazakhstan. They're formed in the same way. And we can see, you know, here, like some of the large, all those little yellow stars there show mines that have been discovered over the last 50 or 60 years in Kazakhstan. And the deposits there have the ability to grow, become very, very large. And an example, there's the Inkai mine, hosting over 240 million pounds of uranium at a grade, very low grade, not like those we see in Saskatchewan of 0.03%. And these are grades, as we'll see, very, very similar to the kind of grades that we have on our Amaro Grande district. It's the same type of geological model. We've only just begun, so we have the Ivana deposit, and we know from the prospecting we've done over the last few years, there's potential to make multiple discoveries along this entire district. And from our PEA, we've got this is our mineral resource statement. Just like I said at the open, just over 17 million pounds of U3O8 at a grade of 0.039%. Again, very similar to like what we saw with the Inkai mine. And this is all in the indicated category, about representing 80% of the deposit. And the deposit is itself situated in a sort of this 5-kilometer arcuate mineralized corridor. There's a high-grade zone in the center, which makes it which is a very positive attribute for in terms of its economics. And the metallurgy and the process testing is very, very simple. It was actually developed here at the Saskatchewan Research Council. What we do is you just dig up some of the mineral there. You put it through a beneficiation process where you just simple wet scrubbing and screening. And what you do at a very low cost, you reduce your overall volume by 75%, but you also increase the grade by 4 times, and then we put it through an alkaline leach process, which is a very well tried and true tested technique, and it's also known to be very low cost and very minimal, if any, no environmental impact. So we get an overall recovery process of 85% for the uranium and 53% for the vanadium. And then the mine, the way that we would mine this is also very straightforward as well. We would divide the deposit up into cells, and it would be mined not too different than a gravel operation, where you mine each cell and then you can put the rejects back into where they came from, so the reclamation costs are basically recovered, right immediately. And the PEA itself that we just very recently published, it shows some really good economics. The internal rate of return is approaching 39%, and that's done at a $75 uranium case. You bring that up to what the spot was last week, and the numbers become even better. So it's a very, very unique. But the real numbers that we like to focus on, that I like to focus on, is what would it cost to put a production like this into operation? Relatively very low cost, just under $160 million, and includes a $35 million contingency. And the cost to produce per pound, it's under $25, whether you just cash costs or all-in sustaining costs. So it's a very, very low-cost way to produce uranium. So with these economics armed, of course, the next question is, okay, this ranks amongst some of the lowest cost operations in the world potentially, but can we find more? And that's really the upside here. We're just stepping back and looking at the overall district again. We've got the Ivana deposit itself, And then we have a number of targets that we've already identified that we know that there's uranium occurrences there. And we've been launched a drill program over the last year or so, and we've been testing especially those areas numbered 1 through 5, because those ideally are close enough to the Ivana deposit that we could conceivably run this as a single mine processing unit, and then be able to, like a hub and spoke type of operation, being able to truck it to a mobile processing plant. And this is just a little more detail. This is the Ivana deposit. There's still more work to be done there. I think there's still more potential upside for that. And the other, we've published results on the Ivana Central and Ivana North. And then the Catea Quattro and Ivana East are the 2 targets that we're yet to drill, and those have some excellent comparisons to the Ivana deposit itself. So we're looking forward to publishing the results as we continue to drill out these targets. So overall, we've got a very blue sky. We've got a value proposition here. We already have not just a deposit but a PEA that showcases some very robust potential economics, and there's substantial upside here, of course, for making additional deposits and growing this and having a single operation. And our next steps, what we're really focusing here now is to have a 2-prong approach. One, to proceed with a pre-feasibility study on the Ivana deposit, the end of which we would be able to be in a position to make a production decision. Then, of course, to continue with our exploration program to see if we can add more pounds and expand the resource potential of this entire district here. And very briefly, our share capital, we've got just over $20 million market cap, 260 million shares out, and I'm happy to take questions.